Hey Kirk, this is Brian at G-Force. Just going over your bike here. I got the battery all charged up. I load tested it. Everything seems fine there. Got some new spark plugs in it. The unit did pretty much fire right up. Obviously, needed a little choke at the beginning, but then it started running fine. Everything was good there. This cylinder, this left-hand spark plug, the threads were a little messed up. When I took out the plug, it pulled a little bit of the top of the threads out with it. It doesn't seem to be that much of a problem though. I ran a thread chaser through it and cleaned up the threads to make sure a new spark plug would thread in there properly. And the new spark plug seemed to tighten down fine without feeling like it was stripping or anything. Also, obviously, I put some electrical tape on your boot here, see as how that was coming off. I didn't want the boot arcing to the head and causing you ignition problems. So, getting it running wise, that was no big deal. Charged the batteries, new spark plugs started right up. As far as the oil leak on the front cylinder, I tried cleaning it up a little bit to see if I could see where it's coming from. Good thing is it doesn't look like it's coming from your head gasket or your base gasket. What it looks like to me is that your valve cover gasket right there is leaking, and possibly there's the covers for the valve clearance adjustment. They have O-rings as well. Those might be leaking. I went ahead and put those down, and be worth doing all at once. I noticed that both your forks are leaking oil, and the bad part about that is that this fork also has the brake pads on it, and it has, I don't know if I can get in there for a good picture, but oil has gotten on the brake pads and saturated them. You can kind of see on the rotor how it looks like it's getting glazed there. That's from the pads having oil on them, and then also kind of transferring it to the rotor. Be a good idea to do your fork seals, put fresh fluid in it, get it all cleaned up, replace the brake pads, and then clean up the rotor to get some of that material off the surface. While I was looking at your oil leak, I did notice that you got a little bit of a coolant leak coming off your thermostat housing. I don't know if I can get that in frame. There you go. And it looks like it is coming from the O-ring that is behind your filler neck here. You got two bolts right there that take this whole assembly off, and there's an O-ring between the filler neck and the thermostat housing. It looks pretty much like that's where it's coming from. I'm trying to think. It seems like there's something else. Oh, also when I was trying to clean off your cylinder to check for the oil leak, I noticed that the idle speed was changing on your bike, and upon closer inspection, you can see right there that, let's see if I can point that out for you. Right in there, your intake boot, and then up front, where the carb meets the manifold there, has cracks in it. It's letting air by, and it was changing idle speed because when I was spraying the cleaner on it, it was sucking it into the intake and creating a faster idle. So there's some things that you might want to consider doing. I would definitely say that the fork fluid on the brake pads would be a safety concern. You don't want to be going down the road and not have front brakes. The coolant leak isn't a huge deal. You're not low on coolant, and it doesn't seem to be coming out in a quick fashion there. So you might be able to get away with that for a little while. Same thing with the oil leak. I know it makes the unit look bad, but I don't think it's a huge deal if you don't think you need to get it done. The intake boot I would do, because you don't, well, it's going to create runnability problems, and you also don't want unfiltered air going into your motor. That might create more problems later on down the road. Let us know what you want to do. Thank you for coming in.